Seri419 has sent me the following comment. Something I haven't seen much of for Mr. Pandaria is the raids and the timeline for them. I know there was delays for releasing a raid and they are gated and so forth. So a video explaining this would be helpful. I had to do a little research on the internet myself to find the answers, but I think I found them. There are currently 3 known raids that will be released. These are the Mogu'shan Vaults, the Heart of Fear and the Terrace of Endless Spring. They won't release all the dungeons right away, because they want to give players the time to level up and truly experience the content. The planning is that on September 25th, Mr. Pandaria launches. On October the 2nd, Mogu'shan Vault Normal opens up. On October 7th, Mogu'shan Vaults for Looking for Raid opens up, and those who cleared normal vaults can access Heroic Mode. On the 30th of October, Heart of Fear and Terrace of Endless Spring Normal Mode open up, with the Terrace only accessible by clearing the Heart of Fear. On the 6th of November, Heart of Fear and Terrace of Endless Spring open up for Looking for Raid. You first need to clear the Heart of Fear before you can queue for the Terrace. Those who cleared normal Heart of Fear can access Heroic Mode, and the same goes for the Terrace of Endless Spring. So the dungeons open up in normal difficulty, Heroic Mode is unlocked once normal mode is completed, the Raid Finder version becomes available about 1 week after the raid initials opening. Let's take a close look at the raids. Mogu'shan Vaults has 6 bosses and can be found in the Kunlai summit, accessible only by air from the terrace of the northern coast, just west of the Troll region. The raid as a whole is set in the Mogu'shan Vaults, which haven't been explored for thousands of years, and the defenses are activated by the player's arrival. It's a classic raid on an ancient tomb. The ending encounter, the Will of the Emperor, has elements of the Swarm built in, with abilities players will have to react to and waves of terracotta warriors. Completing the encounter will reveal the ancient secret the Thunder King used to dominate Pandaria. Quoting Scott Mercer, "It's important to note that the Thunder King doesn't make a direct appearance in the vaults, though his presence is certainly felt. His original source of power lies hidden deep within the vaults, and the Mogu have learned to use that power to create most of the guardians that the players fight in the vaults. Observant players might even notice a certain titanic influence in Lair's defenses. The Heart of Fear and the Terrace of Endless Spring are locked together in a story. These 2 raids feature 10 bosses between the 2 of them and play out as a 2-part story. In the first raid, the Heart of Fear, the players fight the Mended Empress who has been possessed by the Shah of Fear. This raid will have 6 boss encounters, and when the players defeat the possessed Empress, the Shah flees her body and hides elsewhere. In the Terrace of Endless Spring, the next raid instance, the players track down the fleeing Shah and finish it off. This raid will have 4 boss encounters. Both of these instances are a higher tier than the Mogu'shan Vaults and are designed to be tackled using gear obtained in the vaults, which is why we've planned to make them accessible a few weeks after the vaults unlock. All of this is just raid content coming before our first major content update. We'll be announcing even more raiding details in future when we start discussing patch 5.1. More content clearly awaits, and we can only speculate on what's to come. My guess is that the Zandalari will play a part, the Thunder King, there's an old god mentioned by the Kluxi, and I have a hunch that Beaten Shah won't go down that easily. We know that the final part of Mr. Pandaria will be the Siege of Ogrimmar. It hasn't been announced if this will be a raid, a scenario, or maybe even a cinematic. Besides the new raid instances, we also have 2 new outdoor boss encounters. Shah of Anger, located in Kunlai Summit, and Sali's Warband, also known as Galleon, who spends his time in the Valley of the Four Winds. From Wowpedia, the Shah of Anger, the physical manifestation of rage, has escaped from the Shadowpan Monastery in Kunlai Summit. Amid the brutal conflicts gripping Pandaria, the dark entity has grown ever more powerful. Recently the Shah has been wandering Kunlai, using negative energies to corrupt everything the being encounters. The ruthless Saurok roam Pandaria, stealing what they can and arresting the island's other inhabitants. The most infamous of these reptilian pillagers are Chief Salius and his warband. For years the Saurok commander and his raiders have stormed through the Valley of the Four Winds atop Galleon, colossal and well-armed Mogu'shan that is more a moving fortress than a simple mount. I've always loved the outdoor bosses back on my first server called Skullcrusher. I truly envy players on PvP servers now. You might wonder why I'm not telling about the tactics or what to do on these bosses, but I haven't had the time to raid test the bosses properly. I've linked a couple of videos from MMO Champion in the description that tell you exactly what you need to do. The last thing I want to tell you about raiding is that the loot rules for Looking for Raid have changed and that there is a new feature for it. This information is from the WoW website, a link to the article is in the description. Personal loot. Here's how the new raid finder system will work in Mr. Pandaria. The boss dies. Each player has a chance to win loot, independent of the other players. For each player who wins loot, the game randomly assigns them a spec appropriate item from that boss loot table. This subset contains only items that the game thinks are appropriate for your class and current spec. Notice that you aren't rolling need or greed, you don't have an option to pass, the game just says, take this. You can't trade this item, or that would defeat the purpose of removing the social pressure on groups of strangers. If you don't want the item, you are free to vendor, delete or disenchant it. We understand some players are interested in off-spec or transmogrification loot, and we will consider future changes to the system to accommodate those desires. However, we're not sure fundamentally that Raid Finder is the best avenue for acquiring that loot. The personal loot system will initially be used for Raid Finder and for world bosses. So that's how the new loot rules are going to work. Now for the new feature, that's called bonus roll. All Pandaren daily quests reward you with at least one lesser charm of good fortune. You can turn 90 of these in at the quest giver in your main city in Pandaria for one charm of good fortune. If you have one or more charms of good fortune, then whenever you kill a raid boss in Raid Finder normal or heroic, then a new UI window will pop up asking if you want to spend your charm on a bonus roll. If you click yes, then you instantly get another shot at the boss loot stable. You will always win something from the bonus roll, such as a pile of gold, gems or flasks. However, you also have a small, but not minuscule chance of receiving a piece of epic loot. As with the personal loot system, the item will always be something designed for your current spec. Also, just as with personal loot, the game doesn't analyze if you already have the item, if the item would be an upgrade for you, or if you prefer access to swords or anything like that. Most importantly, winning a bonus roll has no effect on what other players win on their bonus rolls, or what the boss drops normally. If you've saved up several charms, and this will probably happen when you play but don't raid every week, then you can use one per boss, but you can't cash in multiples on a single boss kill. If you want to save up all of your charms for the final boss because he or she drops weapons or whatever, that is your prerogative, but you'll only be able to spend one per kill. That's all the information I have for you on the raiding in Mist of Pandaria. Once again, thank you for asking the question, Sari. Should anyone else have a question or a request, please send me a personal message on YouTube and I'll see what I can do. Until next time guys, see ya!